You know that feeling, right? Your doctor recommends a really promising treatment for some nagging, painful condition you have, only for you to find out your insurance won't touch it. It's so frustrating. Well, today, we're going to untangle a perfect example of this exact puzzle, and it's all about a specific therapy for chronic pain.
So let's just lay it all out. There is a technology out there that's literally FDA approved to treat really common stuff like heel pain and tennis elbow. It's not surgery. It's been around for a while. So what's the deal? Why are so many insurance companies giving it a hard no? That is the mystery we are going to solve right now.
All right, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to start with the basics. We need to understand the treatment that's causing all this confusion. So what in the world is shockwave therapy? Okay, at its heart, ESWT, that's the official name, is actually pretty cool. Extracorporeal is just a fancy way of saying outside the body. A device sends these little high-energy mechanical waves, think of them like tiny, super-focused sound booms, right through your skin to the spot that hurts. The whole idea is that these waves kind of wake up your body's own healing powers and kickstart tissue repair. And here's the wild part. This technology was never invented for muscle or tendon pain, not at all. It actually got its start back in the 80s for something completely different, blasting kidney stones to bits without ever having to cut someone open. It was a total game changer. Only later did researchers start thinking, hey, I wonder if these waves could help heal other stuff too. And that's how it started its journey into the world of pain treatment. Now, it's also important to know that not all shockwave therapy is created equal. You've basically got two main flavors. Focused, ESWT, is like a sniper rifle. It sends a powerful, precise beam of energy deep into a very specific spot. Radial ESWT, on the other hand, is more like a shotgun. It spreads lower energy waves over a much wider, more shallow area. And trust me, that distinction is going to be really important in a few minutes. Okay, so now we're getting to the real heart of the issue. A treatment's reputation and whether you can get it covered, it lives and dies by the scientific evidence. So what do the actual studies say? Let's take a look. Our first case study is for something a ton of people suffer from, plantar fasciitis. You know, that awful stabbing pain in your heel, especially when you first get out of bed. It's one of the main things these ESWT devices are FDA approved to treat. So you'd think the evidence would be a slam dunk, right? Well, not so fast. When you actually start reading the research, you find this really frustrating pattern. Some studies are glowing. They say ESWT works way better than other treatments. But then you'll find other studies that say it's no better than a sugar pill or just doing basic stretches. This kind of scientific whiplash is a huge red flag. And when you dig in and ask why the results are so all over the place, you find out the studies themselves often have some pretty big problems. We're talking really small groups of patients, sometimes no real comparison group, tons of people dropping out halfway through, and, this is a big one, they usually only track people for a few months. All those issues make it incredibly hard to say for sure what's really going on. All right, so the case for heel pain is shaky, to say the least. But what about the other big FDA-approved condition, lateral epicondylitis, what most of us just call tennis elbow? Is the research any better here? Let's see. And here we go again. For tennis elbow, we see the exact same messy picture. You can find high-quality studies showing it helps a lot with major improvements in pain and function, and then you can find other studies concluding it's no better than getting a placebo treatment, a steroid shot, or even surgery. The evidence is totally split down the middle. And if you ask why it's so split, you hear the same chorus of complaints from scientists. The follow-up times are too short, the number of patients is too small, and the studies have what's called heterogeneity. That's just a sciencey way of saying they're an apples to oranges comparison. They're using different machines, different treatment plans, and different kinds of patients, so you can't really compare the results. So let's be crystal clear about this. The problem isn't that shockwave therapy hasn't been studied. Oh, it's been studied a lot. The real issue is that when you line all those studies up, they don't tell one clear, convincing story. The overall body of evidence is just fragmented and full of contradictions. Okay, so here we are, the climax of our mystery. Imagine you're an insurance company. You're staring at this messy, conflicting, confusing pile of scientific data. How on earth do you make a decision? What's the final call? They look at everything we just went through, the positive studies, the neutral studies, and all the flaws in the research. They put it all on the scale, and this is their conclusion. This is the exact wording from a major insurer's policy. ESWT is considered experimental, investigational, or unproven. And you have to notice that word, any. Not just for some conditions, but for any musculoskeletal condition, even the ones with FDA approval.
And that right there is the solution to our puzzle. An insurance company doesn't just look for a few positive studies. They don't even base their decision on FDA approval alone. They look at the totality of the evidence. And if that big picture is inconsistent, contradictory, and built on a shaky foundation of weak studies, their verdict is simple: unproven. But wait, that is not the end of the story. Just because a major insurer lands here doesn't mean the entire medical world agrees or that the debate is over. Not by a long shot. I mean, just look at this. On one side, you have the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons calling this treatment safe and effective. But on the other side, you have a state health authority that looked at the same data and called it unproven. It just goes to show you how even the experts can look at the same complex evidence and come to totally different conclusions. And this isn't just some nerdy academic debate. These coverage decisions have massive, real-world consequences, especially when we start talking about who actually gets access to pain relief in our society. This is so important to understand. Musculoskeletal pain doesn't hit everyone equally. The data shows that people from different ethnic backgrounds often carry a much higher burden of pain, but have a harder time getting care. So when a potentially helpful, non-invasive treatment isn't covered by insurance, it can just become one more roadblock for communities that are already facing huge challenges in getting the help they need. Which brings us to this final question. The whole story of shockwave therapy is a perfect reminder that science is a process, right? It's not just a single event. A verdict of unproven today doesn't mean it's unproven forever. So the real question is, will scientists ever be able to do the kind of huge, long-term, high-quality studies that are needed to finally give us a clear answer and maybe, just maybe, change that verdict? Only time will tell.